object oriented also. Like what is happening around the code and the
Okay,
text around it. So it will be a
Ankit,
bit more secure.
Ankit, we have many more object-oriented programming languages, correct? Not only Java.
Yes, ma'am.
Then why do we need Java over others?
Excuse me, ma'am.
I
Shall I?
Yeah,
have to work on that.
yeah, yeah,
This is Usman.
yeah,
Ma'am, first of all, Java is easy to learn,
yeah.
and it was designed to be easier, and to write it it's easy, and to compile it is easy, and it's
Hmm.
object oriented, and the main thing is it's platform independent.
Okay. Okay, can anybody comment on which is actually platform independent? Java as a whole is platform independent, or there is some part which makes it platform independent? Yes? Raksha, are you speaking?
JVM, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
JVM makes it platform independent.
Okay, for few minutes, I'll be sharing with you a few of the slides. Okay, just go through it. Uh, Can I just share the content? All of you are, just one of you have to comment whether you are seeing that content or not. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yes, is it visible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
It is visible.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. See, I have written JVM versus JRE versus JDK. I think acronym of each of these you are knowing already. So that is not of interest for me. So just have a look at this diagram, what it shows. There is at the center something called as JVM. Okay, where is the marker? Why I am not seeing marker? Okay, at the center you can see JVM, and after JVM there is something called as library classes associated with JVM that together will make a JRE, or I can call it as Java runtime environment. Along with this JRE, there is something called as development tools together makes what is called as JDK. Okay, so this is overview of JVM, JRE and JDK. Now this is the overall architecture of JVM. Um, just you can see there is a class loader where the different Java related classes are there. For example, Java dot import Java dot io dot star. All those things we do know. So all those things, the Java related, Java language specific or default packages we tell java.lang, we have java.io. Both are called as default packages. Okay, they are available as part of class loader. So there is something called as a small memory available for JVM, that is called as JVM memory. We used to tell in C also, there is heap memory, there is stack memory, there are register memory. Similarly, we have the same areas available here. You can just see there's a method area where methods get loaded. Okay, heap. Why heap is used? Why stacks are used? There is register memory. So all those things remain the same, internal things. Okay. So whenever the loading of the program happens, the program gets executed, then all those things remain the same, no change at all. Okay. So this is how the JVM works. This is how the JVM works. Now, I have an example here. So there is a main containing F1 and F2. Whenever there is a function call for F1, okay, so where is F1 available? Available in a2.java. F2 is available in a3.java. So all these have to be compiled first before taken for next step. So once they are put to the compiler, they will create each of their classes, dot class files. So we name them as a1 dot class, a2 dot class, a3 dot class. Okay. Now, these A1 dot, A2 dot and A3 dot classes, they come to what is called as RAM. RAM contains JVM. So previously we have seen what JVM contains. Okay. Now, in this, there is something called as class loader. There is something called as bytecode verifier. There is something called as execution engine. I have written here JIT code generator. What is this? We'll think about later. Okay. So all these classes are loaded and it is taken care by the class loader. Anybody can comment on what is this bytecode?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
when we write the Java program,
Hmm.
it is just like the intermediate code. Before going to the machine level language, it is just like the intermediate code, which is
Hmm.
developed by the JVM.
Okay. Okay. Can I call this bytecode as platform independent? Anybody can
Uh,
comment on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Uh,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Okay. So this bytecode verifier, why do we require a verifier when there is a conversion of the programming language, the program that I have written into its own bytecode? We know that it has to be done. Okay, Java does it. Why do we require this verifier? Anyone? Do we have Anant?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Anant, can you comment on this?
Ma'am, I don't know much, but I think that the verifier is meant so that, it ensures that the interpreter of Java is, properly running, not the files aren't corrupt, and, the code can run without breaking the interpreter.
Okay, you just imagine that there are two computers. One computer has Linux installed, one computer has Windows installed. Okay, Linux installed computer has its own JDK. Windows installed has its own JDK. Whether Linux JDK and Windows JDK are one and the same? No, they are different. Okay, they are different. So whenever Linux run Java program gets compiled and gets converted into bytecode, it gets converted into bytecode. Okay, or window generated bytecode, Windows JDK which, generates its own bytecode. Now there is a need of R that this Linux platform computer wants to communicate through a program to this window JDK available. Okay, the program written on Windows JDK wants to communicate with a program written in Linux JDK. Are you getting what I'm talking about? Two different JDKs are working and two different JDKs have two different programs available. Okay, assume that Linux has the server and Windows has the client. Client is trying to send a request to this server through a program which is a Java program and it is run on Windows JDK. And request is received by the program running on Linux JDK. So both of them generate what? A kind of bytecode. Both the bytecodes are generated from two different platforms. So they cannot be the same. They cannot be the same. Okay. In this context, if the bytecode that is generated by Windows has to send a request in the format a Linux JDK understands, that kind of translation that is available internally. Okay, so in this case, there is a need for what is called as bytecode verifier. See, there is somebody called as a bytecode translator. Okay, there is somebody called as a bytecode translator, which has to amalgamate or which has to combine the two different bytecodes that are generated. See, Linux bytecode cannot be understood by Windows JDK. There has to be some translator. There has to be some translator. And when doing this, there is something called as bytecode verifier comes into picture. This talks about, look, whatever you have translated, and this sounds better in this format in the Windows JDK available. That's why it makes a Java platform independent. The bytecode is also not platform independent. Who makes it? This internal translator that makes it platform independent. Okay, not the whole Java is platform independent. Are you getting it? Then we require something called as bytecode verifier. And there is something called as JIT code generator. It is called just-in-time code generator, JIT. Faster, quick. Okay, so about this we will talk later, not now. So there is something called as JRE is nothing but the class loader that along with the bytecode verifier sends it to the execution engine. So the overall understanding goes like this. What JVM does, it only provides an environment, runtime environment to execute the bytecode. Then who is this JDK? He is actually present. That JDK is actually present. Okay, I'm physically existing and contains Java tools, JVM as well as JRE. Then what is JRE? It contains the different libraries, tools that are available. So this is the overview of JDK versus JVM versus JRE. Okay, to refer this very clearly, refer documentation, Java documentation available in Oracle. Okay, no other book will provide you better understanding of this. Any doubt here? Any doubt here? Yeah, go ahead.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yeah, who is speaking? Varshini.
Varshini,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah.
Actually, ma'am, what I
I'm
know
sorry. Yeah.
bytecode,
Pardon?
you told about bytecode, right?
Yeah.
Am I audible? Yes.
Yeah, you are audible. Go
What
ahead,
I
go ahead.
know is, what I know is
Yeah.
bytecode generated in Windows
Ah.
and even Linux will be same because that's why it is platform independent, right?
See, bytecode generated will be same with and but it has its own classes associated, right? Inbuilt classes associated is its own. Those also have to be associated with it when it is translating or when it is getting transferred from one platform to another platform.
Okay.
Yes, so that translation is needed. Whatever bytecode it gets generated.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
yeah. Okay, guys. So a small assignment for you today. Before tomorrow, I'll be talking about JIT. Okay, just in time. So one small assignment from my side. You should know about what is JIT compiler. Okay, just in time it is. Just in time or Java in time. So you should know before joining my next class what is JIT. Fine. Okay, I have a few more snaps to show you. Just 1 minute. Yes. Just have a look at these pictures and have fun. That's all. Okay. So abstraction talks about this. Is it the correct way of representing? So you just can see if everything is visible in the top right corner, there is a diagram which shows all the internal parts so nicely for you. Okay, if abstraction was not there, it would have looked like this. Okay, but with the proper abstraction, look at this cat. He's looking so nice. Okay, so this is one more example of abstraction. Now the encapsulation. Just have a look at this. This is called actual encapsulation. Okay, that's why the cat is becoming so much bulgier. So inheritance, you have come across so many examples of inheritances. Okay, so I have just shown few of the examples of inheritance. Okay, this is a genetic inheritance. This is a banking or company inheritance. Okay, this is an inheritance which is been created by you. I think this is the first ever example I'll be giving you to represent this diagram into a program format. This will be the first ever question that I'll be giving you. Okay, implement the following using Java. Okay. So this I cannot give because it is more depther. So this, please have a snapshot of it. If you are seeing it on your screen, this will be your first question. Write a Java program to represent this or to implement the following. Okay. Can I go to next? Can I go to next?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. This will be one more question from my side. Implement the following. See, all these are happening in our day-to-day life. Okay. So this is one more such example. You please take a snap of this. Done?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Next. This is a genetic inheritance. Very simple. I think a parent-child relation has been shown here. Okay. This is a one more simple example. Take a snap of this. You have to implement this. So my questions will be like this. Write a Java program to implement the following. Taken?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So how many questions I have given now? I have given you this, the first one,
3.
this is the second one, and this is the third one. Okay. Though other than this, I have talked about JIT. Okay. And look at this. Can anybody comment on this diagram?
It just shows that even though modularity is meant to make programmers' lives easier, it actually ends up there are better solutions where as the number of modules, so to speak, become bigger
Yeah.
and larger in number.
Yeah, if you can see this diagram, there are multiple things scrambled like anything. Okay, so what you can better do is first, before starting the assembly, you have to put them in proper box and then start writing the code for that, something like that. Okay, so before you start assembling, just have a proper what segregation of the related things and then start working on it. So modularity speaks about this. What is that? Anything that is related or anything that can be done together, that can be combined into one method, and that method can be reused n number of times. That is the main funda of this diagram. Okay, you cannot just pick anything that you want at any point in time and then think of something else. Okay, then assembly becomes very difficult. Okay, that is the main motto of this diagram. Okay, now have a look at this. You have come across any time in Java hierarchy or anywhere else hierarchy? The word technical hierarchy I'm talking
Yes, ma'am.
about.
Yes,
Technical
ma'am.
hierarchy.
Exceptions.
Exceptions. Yes, correct. Correct. Okay. So this talks about the hierarchy of assembling the toy mice. Okay. If I go from the lowest to the highest, then you will understand it. Don't see from the top to bottom. You just go from the bottommost to the topmost. Then you will understand this. Okay. Yes. Okay. Up to now, I have spoken about JVM, JDK, JRE, and few very important concepts of object-oriented programming. I have just shown you the diagrams. I have not at all explained anything about it. Okay. Because I think UPK sir has covered it in detail when he had taken the class on OOP concepts. Okay. Introduction to OOP, when I remember it, because I was sitting beside him. So that's why I thought of not covering that in depth. Okay. So according to the plan, so in my tomorrow's class, I'll be beginning with JavaFX. Will that be okay? Will that be okay?